Hello, Army lovers. Nobody's really ready. Not the Army, not the production crew, not even the BTS members themselves. The night was supposed to be a night of laughter, jokes, and nostalgia, a reminder of how special the relationship between BTS and the American entertainment world is, especially with the Tonight Show hosted by Fallon. But the opposite is true. Within a second, the relaxed smiles on the members' faces turned into tension that was clearly visible even from a remote camera. The usually humorous Fallon suddenly throws a question that stops everything. And instantly, the atmosphere of the studio became cold. Quiet. Too quiet for an evening event that usually explodes with laughter. What is actually being asked? Why are BTS members silent? And why does that question feel like a stab in the middle of the chest, not just for BTS, but millions of armies around the world? It all started with a big plan that had been prepared for weeks. Rumors of BTS' return to the United States have been circulating, and the news that they will be performing on The Tonight Show with Fallon only reinforces speculation that there will be a big announcement, whether it's a comeback, an international collaboration project, or even something more personal. But no one predicted that the surprise of the night would come not from BTS, but from the host himself. Since the beginning of the show, the atmosphere looks very familiar. Jimmy opened with his trademark joke, the members, Jungkook, Jimin, RM, V, Jeon, Suga, and J-Hope, laughing lightly, though looking a little calmer than usual. Perhaps because they know this is one of the few public appearances they have done together after a long time of solo projects, and some of them are even serving in the military. Army longing has reached a boiling point. Every word, every gesture, every look in the members' eyes that night was analyzed in such a way by millions of fans at home. But who would have thought? Not the Army will be made to cry that night. BTS itself, segment after segment passed, with Jimmy herding the conversation toward memories, new projects, and their lives after being separated for a while. But in the closing segment, Fallon took a short pause. He looked directly at the members, especially Jungkook, who was sitting right in the middle, and said, "This question is not from the crew, not from the management, not from the television station. It's a personal question, as a friend of yours." The studio was suddenly quiet. No background music. There is no audience noise. Only the sound of a slow breath is heard from the microphone. Do you still feel like you're really BTS? Or do you feel like you're losing who you really are? Jungkook stared straight at RM, as if looking for the answer that first appeared in their leader's eyes. But what he found was an empty expression that was difficult to read. Jimin, who had laughed the loudest, now looked down. He turned to the audience, saying nothing. Jeon, who would usually respond with a light joke, was silent. And Suga, famous for his composure, slowly squeezed a hand on his own lap. Even J-Hope, who was usually full of energy, looks as if his soul came out of his body for a moment. The studio was really quiet. Jimmy even seemed a little sorry to have asked, but he didn't take his words back. He knows this is a question that must be answered. If not tonight, when? What followed was the most human moment ever captured in BTS history on the international screen. RM took a deep breath and began to speak, slowly but firmly. We didn't lose BTS, but we almost lost ourselves trying to continue being BTS. The sentence struck like a roar. The fastest audience. The camera highlights Jungkook's face, which now looks teary. Jimin began wiping away his tears with the back of his hand. V is deeper. Jeon throws a blank look at the ceiling of the studio as if hoping to find an answer from there. Suga, without a sound, sighed so long as if trying to take out the burden of years he had carried. J-Hope closed his eyes and placed his hand on his chest. RM continued, "We love BTS, but being BTS means sacrificing a lot. Time, identity, even feelings. We were never given time to stop and ask, who are we if not BTS?" Fallon, with a rarely seen expression of himself, serious, sympathetic, even a little emotional, did not interrupt in the least. It's no longer just a talk show segment. This is a moment of recognition. Recognition of a group that has been described as too perfect, too strong, too stable to falter. But the reality was never like that. Jungkook finally spoke up. His voice was hoarse, his eyes red. "I always felt safe with the other members. But when I'm alone, I'm confused. Am I Jungkook? Or am I just part of something big that makes me forget what it's like to be human?" Tears began to be heard from some of the spectators. One of them was a middle-aged woman who came carrying a large banner that read, "We missed you so much, Bangtan." Now his face is wet with tears. It is not the only one. Jimin, who is known to be the most sensitive, added, "All this time we wanted to look strong. But sometimes, we're too tired to be strong." This statement made the entire studio fall silent even deeper. No one would have thought that behind the glare of the cameras, the glamour of the stage, and the songs that are always full of passion and hope, there are wounds that have never been voiced. Fallon seems to be trying to calm down, but he himself is now unable to hide his emotion. And then, something even more surprising happened. RM revealed that there was once a very serious internal discussion among the members to stop activities as BTS for a longer time than the public knew. "We didn't announce it, but we discussed not coming back," he said. "It's not because we don't love BTS, but because we love each other too much to keep forcing things to go when we know someone is hurt." It was a statement the public never imagined would emerge from the mouth of a Kim Namjoon. All this time, he was considered the main pillar, the foundation that unites everything. But that night, he confessed that even that foundation had once faltered. "We are human," he continued, "and even the strongest man needs rest." Fallon, in a low voice, said, "I think tonight, the world is seeing a side of BTS that they haven't seen before." No one denies. In a short time, social media was flooded with video footage, translations of the members' confessions, and even the hashtag We Love You BTS became the world's #1 trending in a matter of minutes. Thousands of fans wrote open letters, voicing empathy, and many said they felt more deeply connected because they could finally see that their idols were human too, with wounds, fatigue, and confusion like everyone else. A few hours after the event ended, Big Hit released a no less shocking statement. They confirmed that there have been internal discussions about BTS's future, and although the group is still working, the agency admitted that the pressure experienced by the members is not trivial. They also expressed their commitment to maintain the mental and emotional health of all members in the future. The night that was initially looked forward to because of the potential for a big announcement actually turned into a night of frank confessions, which may be much more important than just a comeback or the release of a new song. This is the night where the world finally saw the fragile side of BTS. And precisely because of that vulnerability, they look much stronger. Fallon later wrote on his social media account that he was honored to have been a part of an evening that will probably be remembered in the history of BTS in the entertainment world. Not a few argue that this is the true reason BTS are so loved, not because they are perfect, but because they are not afraid to show that they are not perfect. What happened that night was not a scandal, not even drama. That is the reality. And it was that reality that brought together millions of hearts from different parts of the world that night, all sitting in front of a screen, watching the 7 men who had given the world so much finally talk about the burden they were carrying in silence. One question from Fallon did stop time. But it is precisely from that silence that the loudest resonance is born, that being BTS does not mean losing yourself, but sometimes it takes time to find it again.